Great. Hi. So, hello, Jeremy and Marcello. Uh, we are going to discuss the governance voting on Starknet and how Snapshot X and Herodotus play a part in that. Would you like to start by introducing yourselves? Jeremy?
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I'm Jeremy, COO at Snapshot Labs. Well, previously was part of the Balancer team. I've been in crypto one way or another for a good 11 or 12 years. Um, and have a background as a Web2 entrepreneur before that. And yeah, I've been really exciting working with the Snapshot team here for the last 4 or 5 months or so, and super excited to be part of this release and to work with two really incredible teams in Starkware and Herodotus.
Cool. So I guess that's my turn now. Hey everyone, I'm Marcello, CEO and co-founder of Herodotus. Very quickly about myself, I'm an engineer. I love building cool stuff, and I'm super excited to talk about what we've been cooking for a good time now. So super happy to be here.
Thank you both. I'll just say that my name is Boaz. I'm from the product team in Starkware, and I'm in charge of governance. This is how I tie into all of this. Okay, let's start with you, Jeremy. So, could you tell us a bit about what is Snapshot X for the people who don't know?
Sure. So Snapshot X is the newest product released by Snapshot Labs. It is sort of an addition to Snapshot's flagship product, which is or Snapshot Labs' flagship product, Snapshot, which is very popular voting protocol for the Web3 DAO space. Snapshot, the original product, conducts its voting transactions and computation off chain, which makes it super easy, super efficient, zero cost for voters. And with Snapshot X, we wanted to kind of solve this missing piece, which was being able to provide a fully on-chain voting solution for the DAO market that has the flexibility and modularity and ease of use and UX that users really prefer, while having the security, the verifiability, and the transparency and guarantees of a protocol that operates fully on chain. So we really wanted to take what we did well with Snapshot and take everything that we learned through the last several years of providing Snapshot to the Web3 space and serving so many users, and bring that into the on-chain space where we felt like there was a gap to be filled, and there were some needs that we can dive into more as we go on into this discussion that Snapshot X is designed to address.
Okay, that's very interesting. Could you maybe elaborate a bit more about why you guys at Snapshot Labs think it's important to have on-chain voting as opposed to Snapshot, which is off-chain?
Yeah, so I think they both serve a purpose, and I think that there are a lot of DAOs that as the numbers show, have been totally comfortable with and have felt like their needs were covered by using an off-chain solution in Snapshot, and that the UX benefits were sort of the number one priority for them. But at the same time, there are plenty of DAOs that want to conduct everything that they do on chain. They want to live by the ethos of Web3, of decentralization, of transparency. They want to conduct things in a maximally secure way, and governance is a very core part of the engine that runs any Web3 project, any project in general. But in Web3, the decentralized governance aspect is crucial, of course. So with Snapshot X, we really wanted to, first of all, provide a solution that would meet the needs of DAOs that have that hard requirement of doing everything on chain, especially when it comes to something as sensitive as governance. And we wanted to, at the same time, help usher in more adoption of on-chain governance amongst the Web3 community that has been using the off-chain solution, and sort of bring a more on-chain future closer, and really promote that by making it as easy and as painless as possible to conduct governance on chain, and not make it such a sacrifice in terms of functionality and user experience and cost. So we hope that Snapshot X solves that.
Okay, so how do you think how does Snapshot X actually enable cross-chain voting? And could you get into a bit of why this is so significant?
Sure. So cross-chain voting is one of the really exciting and innovative things that's possible with Snapshot X, and Marcello's team at Herodotus is a big reason for that. And I would definitely will let Marcello talk more on the technical aspect of this, but on a high level, Herodotus provides what's called storage proofs, and storage proofs allow verifying token balances on one chain, such as Ethereum mainnet, and using that voting power on layer 2 on Starknet, so that voting across chains can be done seamlessly, but in a fully verified, secure way, which is a huge value add to the space. But I'll stop there, and I'll let Marcello take it forward.
Yep. So thanks for this super long introduction. So maybe very quickly I'll tell about Herodotus for those who could potentially don't know. So some people label us a ZK coprocessor. I don't really like that name, but let me just maybe explain in details what we do. So we identified the need, like when rollup started to appear, that there's a lot of state that was built on layer 1, such as like token balances, and might be just useful to like take it and use it on like this basically new blockchains that derive the security of Ethereum, but they don't necessarily derive the information that is there. You actually need to send like messages and interact with L1 in order to access that. So we thought that's a huge limitation. I want to like bridge that gap. And another thing is that there is no really a way for smart contracts deployed anywhere to access like historical data. So to give you an example, you want to check what was your balance like yesterday. As a human, you can go to Etherscan and like check it easily, but if you're a smart contract, you really cannot. So we built a technology called storage proofs, and we enable things like that. And now, why this works? So I'll try to keep it as simple as possible and short. The TLDR is that Ethereum is a stateful blockchain. It commits its state with every new block being produced. It produces a thing called a block header, which contains a state root, and the state root is a commitment to basically anything that is stored on the chain, such as token balances, Ethereum balances, and basically any storage used by smart contracts is committed there. And we can decommit it. However, this requires like a lot of computation because it involves a lot of hashing and so on. But it allows you to generate proofs about a specific statement, such as, hey, at that specific block, this account had this many tokens. And by getting the ability to verify these type of proofs on Starknet, we are here today, basically.
Okay, that's great. So, Jeremy, another question for you is, what is the key differences between Snapshot X and other traditional on-chain voting?
There's a lot, and I'll list a few. First off, I think one of the things that stands out is sort of on a practical level, using not only tokens, but actually any contract can be checked in terms of calculating voting power on Snapshot X. So typically on on-chain voting, only tokens that contain the ERC20 vote extension would be able to be used as voting power. And this is very limiting in terms of how a DAO can design its governance and what is determined to give someone the power to vote in the DAO. Now on Snapshot X, as I mentioned, any contract, even beyond a token contract, but literally any kind of contract, such as an attestation contract, or even a contract belonging to a DAO that does not operate based on tokens, such as a DAO that's based on Moloch, which operates on shares rather than tokens. These types of contracts can be read and utilized in Snapshot X in the process of determining how voting should work. So it's like, compared to on-chain voting, like pre-Snapshot X, like with Snapshot X, you're really opening up the possibilities in a big way. And that's only in one area, which is like how voting power is calculated. But like beyond that, so we have a feature called voting strategies. It's a very popular feature in Snapshot in our off-chain product. But we also have an on-chain voting strategies feature. And in Snapshot X, these voting strategies are contracts now instead of an off-chain script. And they enable using a vast array of different types of mechanisms for voting power. So, for example, there is a DAO called Nimbora, which is using Snapshot X for their governance. This is a Starknet ecosystem project. And they, as of now, they do not have a governance token. However, they are still able to vote because they are able to use what we call a whitelist strategy. And this is a Merkle tree that defines a list of addresses and the voting power that each address is given. And that contract or that is the strategy that is utilized by Snapshot X, with everything being verified on chain to vote. Another example could be, if you're a DAO that utilizes World ID, you could develop a voting strategy that relies on World ID to verify DAO voters and to determine whether they're eligible to vote and how much voting power they have. You can play with any on-chain information to define voting power in any way. So again, in the area of voting power, a lot of possibilities there. Additionally, we have another type of strategy, which is an execution strategy. And an execution strategy defines whether a proposal will pass or not, as well as how it will be executed. So that's another toggle that you have as a DAO when using Snapshot X to tailor the rules to your vision. And I think like something that's happening today is that we're seeing a lot of new projects that are launching their governance, are experimenting with new models of DAO governance, because everyone, they're looking to improve on sort of the issues of the past. DAOs are a very iterative, experimental space, and there's a lot of growth and learning still ahead. And it's very important that DAOs have the tools that they need to continuously tinker and experiment and sort of shape governance the way that they believe that it should be. So by having these modular and highly customizable strategies, voting strategies, execution strategies, authenticator strategies, proposal validation strategies, these are all different aspects of Snapshot X that are super different from other on-chain voting protocols and super exciting. You are on mute.
Thank you for that answer. So if I'm to summarize what we discussed so far, basically, then the combination between Snapshot X and Herodotus will allow you to verify on-chain all sorts of different, let's call it statistics from other chains, maybe from whatever chain you want. And then you can base a voting strategy on one of these data points. It might not be how much token you're holding in a specific protocol, but might be a white list of voting power, or maybe even something completely different. Maybe you can vote by how much transactions you've made in that protocol, or things along those lines, right?
Exactly. The possibilities are very vast. It's really up to the creativity of the community and of the anyone who builds a DAO and manages and governs a DAO to come up with those ideas. And we're very much looking forward to seeing how this goes and what kind of experimentation people come up with, as happened with Snapshot's original off-chain protocol. So I would say, on a high level overall, Snapshot X is very different in its ability to provide high customizability and modularity, and significantly reduce gas costs for making proposals, voting on proposals, doing all of that fully on chain, and maintaining a really high level of flexibility and user experience.
Yeah, excellent. So my next question is, this brings me to my next question, which is to you, Marcello. And what benefits do you see of using storage proofs for cross-chain voting, and how might it change the way that governance tokens are utilized? We touched on this topic just a second, but I wanted to hear if you have any more in-depth thoughts around this.
Sure, that's a very good question. So maybe first of all, thanks to storage proof, we don't have to bridge them to this layer 2, which is, I think, really nice from a user standpoint. I can just keep my tokens wherever they were, I don't know, minted, or wherever they are, and I can still use their power in a sense. So that's the first thing that we unlock. And secondly, I think that Jeremy, you touched on voting strategies. With storage proof, you're basically just bind it with your imagination. You can do pretty much whatever you want. You can define strategies such as, hey, if you held this token for more than, I don't know, a week or whatever, or even the one who held it for the longest time, you have a higher voting power or stuff like that. Or you can even do stuff like, hey, if you can prove me that you made this transaction on that chain and you interacted here, and there at the same time or the same time frame, you get more voting power. So pretty much a lot of limits just disappear all of a sudden, and you can basically express any type of creativity and do things that were simply not possible before. Just because in a trustless way, you get access to pretty much everything that an archive node can see, and an actual human would go see on multiple versions of Etherscan, Etherscan, RBScan, whatever. You can just access all of this data from your smart contract, and do pretty awesome stuff.
And to add a little bit more, like to put this into like a hypothetical example that might be easier for people to grasp, like in terms of thinking of like what governance could look like in the future with Snapshot X compared to like what we could do on chain before. Like if you think about how vote delegation works today, and it definitely has a lot of room for improvement. Like one way that you could think about improving vote delegation is if you like really think about what are the like tangible reasons why particular individuals should be receiving like significant weight to their votes that are delegated to them on particular decisions. In general, vote delegation today works as such that you have certain people who are well known in the community. They have a strong reputation for whatever reason it is. Maybe they tweet a lot. Maybe they're very active in that project. You know, maybe whatever, right? Maybe they're just very like public, and or maybe they're like really have like very strong expertise in a particular area. Most of us are not like the top experts in every area, but DAOs contain many different types of decisions in like very different unrelated areas that involve different expertise. So what I'm getting at is if I am like a really great designer, it makes sense to give me a little more like voting power on a decision that's design based, but I'm not necessarily qualified to have that same amount of voting power delegated to me if the decision is something more engineering, programming based, or finance, or marketing, or any other area that a DAO needs to deal with. And that's what could bring in something like attestations. So on Snapshot X, you can have voting strategies that are based on attestations. And if you imagine using a protocol like EAS, the Ethereum Attestation Service, you could have like a much more robust system for how you determine as a DAO who should be considered an expert in what, in a decentralized way, not because the founder, pointed them and put his hand on their head and they were anointed, like something more robust and decentralized. And we could have subject matter experts across each different vertical of governance decisions. And combining that with the delegation system can come up with something really, really more advanced than what like most on-chain DAO governance looks like today. This is just sort of one random example, but again, really wide range of possibilities here.
So again, just to see that I got you right, we can have someone, let's say he's a tokenomics expert and a professor of economics somewhere, and he can have like a governance profile that goes with him from protocol to protocol. And even if he just joined a new protocol, he still can carry some of his, let's say, previous like accomplishments and his reputation, so to speak, and will be given voting power dependent on the subject that is voting, but in accordance with the reputation that he garnered in other protocols. That's a very interesting, very, very interesting thing. I can give another example.
So I want to give you just one note on that, and that would be done not because, that's not all something that's kind of built in one like siloed system inside of Snapshot X. Like this is all done through a modular combination of other protocols that are best for those functions. So you have HATS protocol, which is a great protocol for like designating roles to different people in a DAO community. You have like EAS, as I mentioned, or you can, it's your choice. You can designate a different protocol that for your DAO is the best fit. We as Snapshot Labs are very neutral. Our what we're trying to do is build products that can fit any use case for any DAO, and that can be combined with any other protocol that supports the governance process, and let these things come together in the way that best works for you as a DAO creator.
Yeah. So I'll give you one example that I've struggled with when trying to design something that I'm thinking of when I'm trying to design Starknet's governance processes. So how do you have people that how can you prevent people from buying a lot of tokens, holding them for a really short while, voting on something that's really important, and then selling them, right?
I can take this, but I'm sure you can also answer this question.
So again, with the tools that you guys provide, I can just give some factor on the voting power that depends on how long you've been holding these tokens. And again, this is all completely transparent, on-chain, verifiable. So everybody can see, okay, if somebody bought a lot of voting power yesterday and is trying to vote on something today, okay, maybe he won't be as impactful as someone who has the same voting power but has been holding it for 4 years. So
absolutely, yeah. So you'd want to use a time-weighted voting power strategy for that, and I think that probably makes a lot of sense for many DAOs, and that's something that's not straightforward to do with other tools. So I think it makes a lot of sense for a DAO to decide, like, someone who has been, had their skin in the game for a longer period of time is, their vote and their decision-making power should be more valuable than someone who just joined. And It also gives people an incentive to stay in the community long term in order to increase their influence in the community.
So let's take one question from the viewers, if you don't mind. So Diego is asking, do you expect automated systems to vote in governance decisions? What do you think about this, Jeremy?
That's an interesting question. I think that there are definitely people experimenting with building like AI-based DAO delegates that would try to embody in an automated way some philosophy for how the DAO should be run. I think it could go well, it could go badly. I'm sure we'll see all ranges of the spectrum, and and I'm sure it'll also improve a lot over time, and maybe get to a point where it's even better than humans. I don't know. From a Snapshot perspective, we want to support human and AI voting just the same, again, in a neutral and open way. If a DAO wants to enact that kind of system, then we 100% want to support that.
I may be limited in my imaginations, but I'm having a really hard time seeing how this could be enabled without a technology like storage proofs. It's really hard for me to think about how someone can create like a reasonable automated voting process without having access to something like storage proof.
Yeah, indeed, I do agree. Like having access to historical data and like being able to just go through it and say, this sounds like a reasonable decision to take or not to take, is definitely needed. And by the way, like speaking of this time-weighted voting power, that's one of the reasons why we developed like a solution called the data processor, which exactly allows anyone to express what are the conditions, such as, for example, hey, if you held this token long enough, like you have a higher voting power, or like, hey, if you held it long, but then all of a sudden there was a drop, there's something wrong with you. We don't want to let you in.
This makes a lot of sense to me.
There's also like an intermediate step, which is you have like fully automated voting where AIs are independently making autonomous decisions, and then there's a step before that, which is like AIs helping people make voting decisions, AIs helping people read through long proposals and extract the most important information, or AIs helping people write proposals that are clear and well formatted, and saving time both on the consuming and creation of proposals, so that the human is still making the decision but is receiving assistance from AI. And these are features of Snapshot v2, the new version of the Snapshot interface that we just released.
Yeah. So, okay, I have a question for both of you, which is we all collaborated on building Starknet's governance hub, and I wanted to ask you about that process. How was it? What do you think its impact is going to be for the future of Starknet governance?
Maybe I can take this one from our perspective. It was long, but I think we had to discover like a lot of undiscovered territories and like a lot of edge cases. But I think it was really great. We learned a lot of lessons, all of us, and was like super interesting to also understand, how you actually should do this cross-chain governance. What are the edge cases? What are the security risks, and so on. So super excited to also see how this evolves in the future.
Yeah, I can definitely say for myself that at least us in Starkware, we've learned a whole lot by the process of trying to build this governance hub. And like Jeremy said before, governance is an iterative process, right? So it's basically the beginning of the first years of governance in the crypto space, and everybody's innovating in a lot of very interesting ways, and everybody's doing a lot of iterations because there's no clear answer to anything currently, I think, at least. And so it was great collaborating with you guys on seeing how technology can influence this topic of governance, which is like traditionally not something that has been done with technology. If you look at like governance of countries or corporate governance, it's not something that technology is a native part of, but here it is. So it's a very interesting frontier to explore. So thank you guys for all the hard work you did on the governance hub, and we're very appreciative.
Shout out to Yuki Labs, which developed the interface, and I think it's beautiful. I think it's super nice. I'm a big fan of the Starknet Governance Hub, and it's the first white label interface on top of Snapshot X, and I think it serves as a great example. If this is something that other projects want to follow suit with, it's a great first use case, first case study to model after.
Okay, so I think that we'll have one more question, and then we'll call it a day. So again, both of you, what do you think are the advantages of guestless on-chain voting? What do you think it's going to unlock in the future?
Well, it's a huge UX improvement. I think that, even today, where most of us who are engaged actively in the Web3 space, we've lived in a world where you have to jump over a lot of UX obstacles in order to interact with like Web3 protocols. And it's like, unfortunately, the norm, but still we're human. And I think it's very clear that people in the space prefer to use solutions that are less costly, easier, more pleasant, better user experience overall. But like, I think what you're hinting at, which I agree with, is the future of the Web3 space is going to be different from the present of the space. The people that we want to continue to attract into the Web3 space, hopefully, are the kinds of people that have less tolerance than we do for UX challenges and, costly transactions on sort of, things that they might do on a daily basis, such as voting or proposing in a DAO. So making that gasless, or making it possible to do that gaslessly, it really eliminates a big obstacle from not only today's Web3 communities being more engaged in voting because the barrier is lower, but also opening it in the future to bringing more everyday Web2 users into Web3 and making it more tolerable for them.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, so I just wanted to ask if you guys have anything to say in summary.
We have one more audience question.
Yeah. Do you mean this?
Yes.
Yeah, so Marcello, I think you touched on this subject before, but if you want to answer this question directly, I think it would be great.
Yeah. So first of all, like you can do stuff like cross-chain voting, so you don't need to bridge your assets from like L1 to an L2, in order to be able to vote. So that's like the simplest example you can find. Another one is as we discussed, you can do something like time-weighted voting power. So you can basically just go through the history of a specific account, see how long they've been holding that token, and just based on that, you can assign like the voting power. You could do it in an off-chain way, but there is like trust assumptions, which is not necessarily good, especially if there is like a high stake involved in the entire voting process. So yeah, like with storage proofs, you basically get the ability to have unrestricted like data access patterns, because you can access absolutely anything that ever happened on chain, including like historical state, historical transactions. You can, if you want, you can even check what was included in the block header or some data from the consensus layer. I'm not sure why you would need it in the context of voting, but you can. So that's cool enough. And of course, you can do all of that in like a trustless way, without having to trust someone that the data is indeed correct.
Marcello.
I don't have anything to add on that point, but there are some other points that I think are good to mention. One is how awesome it has been to work with both Starkware and Herodotus on this project. Like starting with Starkware, like just speaking as a project that's been building on the Starknet ecosystem. The Starkware team has been unbelievably supportive, unbelievably hands-on, engaged, truly like genuinely a partner in our success, and really wanting to do everything that they possibly could to kind of push us forward. And when we've needed help on things, they've been super responsive and always come up with a solution very quickly, and really have been it's like couldn't have asked for any more. So highly like appreciate the Starkware team for everything that you guys have been doing for us, and we're so glad that we didn't know that you guys were going to be so awesome when we chose to build with you. It's been a really great surprise, because you can't always say that about partners that you work with or ecosystems that you build in. And and of course, we're like big believers and big fans of the tech. The efficiency of running computation on Starknet, kind of just due to the way that the protocol and the Cairo language is tailored for performance and efficiency. It's the cheapest. We found that it was the lowest cost environment for running storage proofs, because storage proofs require sending a lot of call data, and call data is free on Starknet. And these are like big payloads that you normally would have to pay a lot for on other networks. So building this on Starknet was a huge. It's been a huge asset for us. Additionally, on the Herodotus side, I mean, Herodotus and Marcello's team have been really great partners to work with. They've built all of the contracts related to storage proofs, which is not only very powerful technology, but really core element of Snapshot X. And it's, we are taking this tech and we are using it in the voting space, but it has a lot more potential use than voting. It's useful for DeFi, it's useful for bridging. I could not be as good of a representative as Marcello, of course, to explain those things. But working with their team has been great. They've solved unexpected problems for us as the process went along. And we plan to enable storage proofs for more chains. Currently, it's enabled for Starknet, but we want to expand continuously as well. So big thank you to you guys.
Likewise, thanks for that. And also wanted to mention it was super nice to explore like many of these different problems that we might challenge. So just for example, it turned out that there is a issue with how you actually measure time in a cross-chain context. That was like a super interesting challenge to solve with you guys. So was a really great collaboration, and like I said before, we got to explore some new territories.
Thanks to both of you guys and both of your teams, right? So Snapshot X and Herodotus, we consider both of you to be very interesting, groundbreaking, and important technological partners to Starknet and the entire Web3 community. And we're sure that all of us together and each of us individually are going to go and do very interesting things in the upcoming future around storage proofs, which is a very wide domain, and obviously around governance and DAO. And very excited to see what's going to come next. Okay, so thank you to everyone. For all the viewers, thanks for Jeremy and Marcello. And that's it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. See you guys next time.
See ya.
See you.